The Tractor Control F1 and Native Instruments' newly introduced Tractor Remix decks are hungry for content. Within this tutorial, you will learn about different ways of loading content onto your remix deck and your F1, as well as saving everything you've done and applying small changes to tailor your performance and workflow to your needs. To get started with the remix decks in the F1, you have to fill them up with audio content. Use your mouse to drag and drop any audio file directly into the remix deck. You can drag files directly from Tractor's browser, the Filer or Explorer, or from Native Instruments' machine, for example. Further, you can use the F1 to look for samples and tracks in your Tractor collection. To do this, hit the Browse button on your F1 to enter Browse mode. Hold down Shift and turn the F1 encoder to look for a folder or a playlist in Tractor's browser tree. Pushing the encoder while holding Shift will expand and collapse the tree folders. Then turn the encoder to scroll through the track list. Pushing down the encoder will load up the selected track or sample in the next free cell of your remix deck. Alternatively, you can also select a sample and hit the pad on which you'd like to place it. When using the F1 to capture samples on the fly, you'll need to tell Tractor where you want to capture the sample from. To select your capture source, hold down the Capture button and rotate the encoder. You can choose any deck that's configured as a track deck, and you can also choose the loop recorder. Once you've chosen your capture source, press the Capture button to enter capture mode. When capturing from a track deck, you can specify the capture size using the F1's encoder. Press a pad on the F1. A new sample will be created in that location. By holding down Shift and turning the encoder, you can jump through the track or move to a previously set loop and keep on capturing different parts. Press Capture to exit capture mode. When capturing samples from tracks via mouse, you must first tell Tractor the size of the sample you wish to capture. This is done using the Auto Loop Size control in the track deck. If, for example, a size of 8 beats is selected, then an 8-beat sample will be captured from the deck. Once the desired capture size has been set for a track, the method for capturing samples from the track deck and loop recorder are nearly identical. Use the mouse to drag the song's name from the track deck and drop it into a sample cell. Or drag the loop recorder down from the sample cell and drop it. A new sample will be created in the cell you drag the content onto. To use the F1 without looking at the screen, you can come up with your own ideas to easily color code your samples for performance use. Press Shift plus Reverse to enter Color Edit mode. Both buttons will begin to flash. In Color Edit mode, press the pad whose color you wish to change. The sample grid will be replaced with the Color Select palette. Choose the color you'd like to assign to your sample and press the corresponding pad. The normal sample grid will then return into view, and the selected pad will have the new color. Repeat is needed for any other samples. You can also change the color assigned to a sample by right-clicking on the sample's trigger button and clicking a color from the pop-up palette. To change the name of your remix set, simply click into the deck header and type in the desired name. Alternatively, you can also look up the remix set in Tractor's browser and edit the name there, either by double-clicking on the name in the list or by right-clicking on the set and choosing the Edit option. To change the name of a sample cell, simply double-click on the cell whose name you'd like to change. Type in the new name and hit Enter on your keyboard. When you change the name of a sample in Tractor's remix deck, the sample file itself will keep its original name in your Tractor collection and on your hard drive. This way you can avoid having a bunch of samples called Kick lined up in your sample collection. After doing all the basic adjustments and renaming your remix deck, it's time to save your remix set. You can do this by dragging the name of your remix set with your mouse and dropping it in your collection. A new line item will appear with the name you provided, along with a special icon indicating that this is a remix set. Alternatively, you can hold down the Shift button on your F1 and press the encoder. This will save the current set. To load the set, simply drag it from the collection up to a remix deck header and drop it. The set will then be loaded into the deck. To load a set via the F1, hit the Browse button, select a remix set by turning the encoder, and push it down to load the remix set into the assigned deck. You can always load a new sample in place of an old one. You don't need an empty cell for loading a sample. However, if you do want to delete a sample so the cell is empty, you can do so with your mouse and keyboard or with the F1. To delete a sample using the F1, hold Shift plus Capture and press the pads you wish to delete. Release Shift plus Capture when finished. You can also delete an entire sample page by holding Shift plus Capture. Press the encoder to clear the selected page. Release Shift plus Capture when finished. Lastly, you can clear the entire sample grid, all pages, for the F1 as follows. Hold Shift plus Capture, rotate the encoder clockwise until UL is shown on the LED display. Press the encoder and release Shift plus Capture to leave the delete mode. To delete a sample from a cell with your keyboard and mouse, hold Alt plus Control on a Windows machine or Alt plus Command on a Mac. To export a remix set, you need to select it in Traktor's browser. All remix sets can be found in the All Remix Sets folder in your Traktor collection. Choose the remix deck you'd like to export and right-click on it. Choose the function Export Remix Set. Then select the destination where you'd like to save the remix set file. Traktor will now create a compressed track file, which holds all the samples that are being used in the exported remix set, as well as the information of the sample properties.